Hello, hello, hello. This is Raven LaShawn. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're already subscribed, I thank you for subscribing. If you're a new subscriber here or it's your first time coming through, just go ahead and click subscribe. I will do an introduction video later on, I guess, or maybe I can introduce myself now. Well, I'm Raven LaShawn. I'm 29 years old and I live in Raleigh, North Carolina currently. I'm a single mom of a 7-year-old. I have a 7-year-old little girl. Her name is Imani. And you all probably have seen her in one of my videos. But today's video, as you can see, is a very, 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 very touchy subject for me. It's something that I went through recently, and I'm going to try my best to be as transparent as possible. So let's jump right in. So from the title, you can see is how to heal from a broken engagement. And I will say that the healing process is ongoing. I don't know when I will be fully healed. But I think that I am a lot better than I was when it first happened. So I was engaged to my my ex-husband to be. We were engaged for 2 years. We had been together prior to that for I think we were engaged for we were dating for 8 months and maybe just courting for 2 before that. So I met my, well, I guess I can tell you all. I met my ex-fiance. We met in college briefly. And we never talked to each other during college, but we did connect after college. So we connected. He slid in my DM on Instagram, and it kind of, well, I wouldn't say it hit off from there because I was kind of in a place where I was really, really, really enjoying my single life. So I was kind of brushing him off. Fast track, we ended up starting dating, and I'm this was the first time that I really went to God and was okay, is this who I'm supposed to be with? Because I don't want to be in nothing that you do not want me to be in. And God would keep sending confirmation that, this is right. This is who you're supposed to be with. So I'm okay. So we started dating in December of 2017. March 2018, we were looking at engagement rings. And I was okay, he wants to marry me possibly. That's cool or whatever. So fast forward, he proposes August 4th, 2018. And it was beautiful, very beautiful. So I think from then we decided that we wanted to have a wedding, and the type of wedding that we wanted to have was, I guess, a big wedding. So we pushed it off for 2 years. Big mistake. I'll go into that later. So we planning this big wedding. Of course, first year of engagement was it was okay. I felt like we had little obstacles here and there. And I was oh my God, we didn't have these obstacles when we were just dating. So what is going on? So we made it through our first year of engagement. 2020 rolls around. We were planning our wedding to be married September 6th, 2020. That did not happen, of course. The pandemic hit. It was just crazy. 2020 was just a crazy year. So 3 months before our wedding day, I fell ill, and this is probably going to sound crazy, but nobody really knew what was wrong with me. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I was just in a very delusional state, and I recently was asking God. I was what happened to me, because I was just out of it. And he did mention something about may have went through a spiritual attack. And I'll go into depth about other stuff later on as God leads me. But anyways, went through this mental state. It kind of alarmed some people, and it just went left. So nevertheless, people involved themselves who shouldn't involve themselves, and me and my fiance split up 3 months before our wedding day, and I just could not believe it. I could not believe it, because I was just how did we get so close? Like, God, you said that this is my husband. How do we get so close and it falls apart, just falls completely apart like this? And I will say to everyone who's watching, because I know people have been speculating or whatever, what happened, blah, blah, blah. It was no infidelity, nothing like that. It wasn't even, as weird as it sounds, it wasn't even something where we both was like, we wanted to not be together. But it sounds weird because everyone's like, oh, you're grown adults, you can all just get back together. But when people involve themselves that are close and dear to you, and if you've always had this stronghold, or they always had this stronghold over you your whole life, it's not as easy to break away from. So we split up. My ex-fiance, he moved away 2 hours away. And I stayed where we not in the same apartment, but I stayed in the same city that we were living in together. And of course, like I said, I had a daughter that was involved that looked at him just like her second dad. She called him her bonus dad. So it's been about maybe 9 months since we split up, and it's been a challenge. It has been a challenge. I tell everyone that I wouldn't wish that what I went through on my worst enemy. It felt like essentially I was going through a divorce. We were not legally married, but God joins you together spiritually before you are married legally. And I think that that's something that everyone should be aware of. So it felt like I was just going through a nightmare, essentially. I was like, this was the first time I ever physically felt heartbroken. I never felt that, I had been in, dated guys before, and I knew that it probably wasn't something I shouldn't have been in, but this was different. I felt like I did the right thing, I sought God, I asked God, I prayed about it and everything, and for it to fall apart completely as it did was just like, it was just heart shattering. I just could not believe that it happened, and it happened the way that it happened. So it's been a challenge. I think one thing that I learned through this process is that you really just have to, no matter what happens in your life, you have to keep God first. Because unintentionally, I had got to a place where I had started to put the wedding planning before God. I had put the wedding planning before my ex-fiance. So it's easy to get caught up in that without intentionally trying to get caught up in it. So I felt like we both kind of neglected each other during the process, and we were both just like so stressed out trying to plan this date that was essentially for everyone else. And in the midst of that, I will say I did feel like I maybe should have pulled back because I was so stressed out. I did not have a good wedding planning process at all. And people probably like, what? You didn't have a good wedding planning process? And I'm like, no, I honestly didn't have a good wedding planning process. I'm not as close with my mom, and that's another story. But it just, I don't know. You know how sometimes when it's your turn to do something, you feel like you get the short end of the stick, or people are just lollygagging. And that wasn't for everyone that was around me. So I will say that wasn't for everybody that was around me, but for just some people. So I wish, looking back, that we would have just went ahead and got married and just forget everybody. But we were really, both of us are kind of, essentially, we were people pleasers, trying to please everybody, trying to include this person, and essentially we were unhappy. And it took a toll on our relationship. But it was a time where I just had to really, this time I just really had to cling to God. I had to isolate myself. I had to get off social media. I just really had to keep myself in a good headspace. Just as well as it affected me, it affected my ex-fiance. And I didn't know that because I felt like he just didn't care. Because I'm like, we could just, get back together. We could just, But it was not hard. It was not easy for him as well to cope through the process. And we all know that women and men, we cope differently. We cope completely differently. So it's been a process. We we speak here and there, but it's just unfortunate that we got to this place and had to like completely call everything off. But I will say that I learned in the midst of this just to, just essentially, God has revealed that he's working everything together for my good. Even though I went through this hurdle and this obstacle, and no matter which way it goes, that he is God and he's still going to fulfill that desire in my heart to be married and to have more children. It's just something that unfortunately that I had to go through. Did I feel a little embarrassed? Yes, I did, because I'm like, who gets 3 months away planning this whole day, been planning for 2 years, and it completely falls apart? But God has reassured me, like I said, that he's going to work it together for my good. He's still going to fulfill the desires of my heart. And even though I went through this setback or delay, that he's still going to do exactly what he said he was going to do for my life. Just a little bit of advice for engaged couples or people desiring to be married or have a wedding, to not put the wedding before the marriage. Hear me again. Do not put the wedding before the marriage. Do not delay the marriage for the wedding. Essentially, I feel like that's where we kind of went wrong, kind of delayed it too much, where it was something that God probably wanted us to go ahead and do instead of delaying it too much and giving people time to have just do what they did. And also just to make sure you stay in premarital counseling. We did go to premarital counseling and it was great. But I think that we just didn't go, like we kind of went when we hit like a little bump in the road, we would go, but I think it's something that should be ongoing. And I even suggest people who are dating seriously, thinking about it, being engaged, to go ahead and get into premarital counseling if you think that you all are essentially going to be engaged and be married. There's nothing wrong with going ahead and taking that step, and going to therapy. What else? Yeah, and just focus on your partner. Keep God at the center. That's number one, because a marriage is essentially 3 people. It's God, it's your spouse, and yourself. So just to make sure that you always keep God at the center. You're praying for each other. You're communicating, because sometimes we think that we are communicating correctly, but we're not doing it in a way that our partner understands where we're coming from. But it's, like I said, it's been a journey, and I feel like I'm getting better day by day, day by day. What helps me is just journaling, staying in my word, praying, seeking God. In the midst of it, I can say I kind of think I know why God did it too, because he had to clear out some room. It was some people that were in my circle that I knew or God had told me prior to get rid of, and I didn't. And these people were going to come along with me or standing next to me on my wedding day, and that wasn't how it was supposed to be. You want to have good people and people with good energy, people that really truly wish you well, wish you and your partner well, because everybody can say, oh, I support you, but when it comes down to it, they can be jealous, envious, or they don't give you the support that you need. But like I said, it's getting better day by day, and I just really trust God at this point. I really trust God at this point. And it's easier said than done when it doesn't look like what he has told you. But I think during this moment, God has really built my faith, and I was kind of faithless before this. Like I say, oh, I trust God, I believe he's going to do this, but I really didn't. I was kind of like lukewarm, not even lukewarm, I was cold. So during this, he has really built my faith, because he has kind of told me, essentially the plan, but I still have to trust God no matter what it looks like. And I think that is very important, to trust God no matter what. And also it's just important to remember, no matter what, if God promised you something, it's still going to come to pass. I think I mentioned this in one of my videos, but you just have to keep the faith no matter what it looks like. God is not one that should lie, so he will do exactly what he said he was going to do. But that's pretty much how I've been healing. I forgot to mention I have been in therapy. Therapy has helped me a lot, because I had to forgive a lot of people who interfered. So I didn't want to hold that that inside of me, because forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. It sets you free. So that's pretty much my healing, I guess, for my broken engagement. If you all would like a part 2, please like and comment below. That's essentially my story of healing from my broken engagement. If you all would like a part 2 of this, please let me know and comment below, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye bye.